Delos represent Solomon Island people say. We people start originally from my homeland. Like my old man said, there's nothing impossible. So we have to bring this message to my brother lyrical. Straight from the crew, out to the blue. We represent the voices of my ancestors calling. And I was getting more and my culture is falling. Now we have a step up for the past 20 calling.
Previously on Delos, Brian and Karen took the boat up the Kinnebatongan River, spotted some real-life dick-nosed monkeys and wild elephants. They parked Delos while they headed off on a trip to Sweden and America.
It was mid-2013 when I arrived back to Delos to complete the crew, with Brady, Brian and Karen. It was the beginning of when we really got into our filming and video editing, and that season felt different. It was the beginning of something new, something exciting. We had all worked so hard to enjoy another season of cruising, which once again flew by in a flash.
It had been an absolutely incredible 8-month season for us. Eventually, we ended up at a crossroads in the Philippines. This is our story from that time in our lives of leaving Delos to go on our money-making adventure working on super yachts.
Before you knew it, another 8 months had passed and we were in the Philippines and we were broke. Like all the money was gone.
Brady and I each had like $100 or something, or $200 each to our name.
In the Philippines, I mean, we could have got jobs there. I could have got a job as a dive master, and Josje could have worked somewhere as well, but they pay like $2 a day or something like that. So that didn't seem like a viable option. When I was in the States for a bit, I worked a bit on super yachts. So I had a few connections, and through sailing around too, we had a few friends that worked on super yachts as well, so we just started emailing everybody we knew.
And getting a team job on a super yacht is pretty difficult, let alone not really having been in the industry before. So that was kind of like a hopeful option, but still a pretty good one. I looked up to do my STCW course, which is pretty much a basic safety training course if you want to work on any sort of commercial or private boat. And it was super cheap. It was like $100 to get my STCW, whereas in the States or in New Zealand it cost like $2,000. So I went ahead and did that with Brian and Karen, got my certification.
And then Josje drew up this cool little vision board.
I was reading a lot of Wayne Dyer at the time, and so I drew this little picture because I was reading about kind of visualization. And getting what you want in life, and so I drew this little picture of this super yacht, and like me and Brady standing on it, and like money symbols, and like whales, and sunshine, and palm trees, and like all things positive and great. And I stuck it up on the mirror so that we would see it every day. So I was like, let's give it a go, let's try it.
So yeah, we put the feelers out there, we put our vision board out there.
And I think it was probably like a month later we got the call for this job.
From this boat that was looking for delivery crew.
From Borneo back to Auckland in New Zealand. We got the job!
So I was sitting here doing my morning manifestation meditation, and I was manifesting us a job. Halfway through the meditation tape, phone rings. G'day, Brady!
Oh, g'day!
Yay! We make some monies.
And it was in Borneo in Kota Kinabalu, which was like, I don't know, 300 or 400 miles south of where we were in the Philippines.
And the whole trip would take about 6 weeks, and we could get the job together. It was about 5,000 miles, and they were going to fly us in, so we were just literally over the moon. This little piece of paper that I ripped out and drew randomly and stuck on the on the mirror in the head just kind of worked miracles for us. So we were really, really excited at this point. The cool thing was, I also wrote down a date, like this random date. I wrote January 20th. I don't know why I wrote that, it just kind of seemed like the right time. And we started the job on January 22nd. So it was a little bit spooky actually, but really, really cool to kind of see it work, you know?
It was kind of strange getting the call because every time we'd ever worked before, Delos had stopped. So this was one time where Delos was going to kind of continue on sailing. And it was really strange ever since I joined the boat in 2009, you know, like 30-something thousand miles before. We've always stopped all together and worked and taken a break, and this time was different. And it was scary. It was the unknown. I guess we're always doing the unknown, but for some reason it just felt scary to leave Delos while she was going to continue to sail on.
At the same time, it was kind of nerve-wracking. We were being hired and paid to deliver this massive 115-foot sailing ketch 5,000 miles to New Zealand, and the only boat we'd ever really sailed is Delos.
I think in hindsight it was just exactly what needed to happen. It was really, really cool to let Brian and Karen have their own time for a bit, have them cruise around and enjoy the boat, and for Josje and I to go in and experience a different life on a different boat. Hangover.
All our lives, right there. Ultimately, we were just really excited to, you know, have a different experience, make some money, and, you know, fill up the cruising kitty and see where it would take us.
It felt pretty sweet to be able to be flown in for a job to deliver a boat, and he was basing all of his trust on what somebody else had said about us and our CVs, which were kind of hyped up a bit.
I've never been flown anywhere for anything really, so to be flown in for this job was super cool.
It was a big step to kind of put ourselves out there and see if we could really do it and if we were actually sailors or not.
We were flown in a few days kind of earlier than we technically started, so we spent the rest of our money, like the last of our money, on a hotel room at the Westin.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So we checked in, and I think somehow we got upgraded to a master suite or something like that. I think we told them it was our honeymoon or something, I don't really remember, but it was 2 massive rooms and like a big bathtub and a marble shower, and like you could have fit 20 people in there.
Oh, what?
Clean, non-salty sheets and this big bathtub and like room service, and it was just kind of the opposite of what we've been doing for like almost a year. So it was a nice little treat to ourselves.
It's a pretty good one, huh?
Pretty good one. I remember we got a taxi from the hotel room, we were walking down the dock and we were, you know, about to go meet the captain and the crew on the boat. I remember seeing it from the distance and I was just like, holy is that it? Like it was just this massive, massive boat.
I remember walking onto the boat for the first time and seeing the winches, and they were like, you know, this big around. I was how the hell do you wrap lines around those things, or how do you ease those? And it just kind of hit me that we really didn't know much about boats of that size. I mean, it's all the same now in hindsight, but
it was a bit of a shock to me. I felt like just this rush of kind of nervous excitement kind of came over me.
You walk down into the boat and it's just this beautiful salon and like big nav station. Go down, and we were put in one of the guest cabins, so we had like a beautiful room with 2 beds in it, and extra soft comforters, and air conditioner running 24/7, and a whole separate bathroom with a marble stand-up shower, and like it just blew my mind. I remember us just looking at each other being like, what the f***? Like, do these people live like this?
We hung out in Borneo for about a week before we left. So we were kind of preparing the boat for this big passage, and I remember this one instance where we did this big provisioning run, the chef and I, and she was like, okay Josje, I'm going to put you in, like, can you go grab all the snacks and sort of drinks and stuff for the passage? I was like, sweet, it's like totally in my element, I love snacks. So I was like, okay, got this massive trolley, was walking down the aisles, and I was like, oh yeah, a couple bags of chips, some Tim Tams, maybe like some crackers and stuff, and like came back and some cans of Coke and stuff, and came back. She kind of looked at me and she was like, no, you need to get way more than that, like more than double that. And I was like, oh, okay, sweet. So I went back and I was just like, psh, 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 filled this massive trolley full, and then I came back and she was like, okay, yeah, that's better. And then it was just like, sweet, didn't have to look at the price tags, didn't have to look at anything, like the complete opposite of what we did on Delos. It wasn't better or anything, it was just a very different experience.
See, after a couple days of getting the boat ready and provisioning and everything for the trip, we left. We left to go to Kinabalu, and we went around the north side of Borneo. So the first night out, leaving KK, we were coming around the corner, and it was pitch black, and there was oil refineries everywhere, like, and fishing boats everywhere. And I was on watch for the first time, so I was at the helm, kind of hand steering, and the captain's wife was out on deck, kind of keeping a lookout. But all of a sudden, she just yelled, "Oh, starboard, hard to starboard!" So just turned the boat hard to starboard, and then there was this fishing boat that had just turned their light on when we were like 5 meters away. They just flipped their light on and shined it at us, and they just came right down the port side of the boat.
Our first stop out of Borneo was Cairns, in the northeast part of Australia, and the trip was pretty good. We had light winds most of the first half of the way, so we were motoring quite a bit. It was quite similar, I guess, in a way to Delos. It was all kind of the same stuff. We had like rotational watch schedule, so we would all be doing the same amount of watches, and it was all kind of the same stuff, navigating the boat, making sure we were on course, checking the radar, all that kind of stuff.
Pulling in, it was really great. We went straight into the marina and tied up, one thing we could never afford on Delos. So it was pretty interesting just going straight in, tying up to the marina that we always kind of drove the dinghy into, and looked at all the boats tied up there.
And then we went out for a big crew dinner, and we went out partying and had a lot of fun, and did a bit of cleaning on the boat, went for a little bit more of a provision run. But all in all, it was a really good first part of the trip, and we connected with all of the crew really well. And
what I did. So hard.
oh mate, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we were off again, and we were sailing down the coast of Australia.
And it was not the most comfortable trip. It was kind of similar to what we had experienced on Delos like a few years back.
and it was the same thing. There's no such thing as northerlies on that coast. It was blowing like 25 out of the southeast, and this big boat was just boom, slamming into these waves. And I mean, it was the same beating we do on Delos. It was a little bit more comfortable because it's such a big boat.
Once we got a good weather window, we left and crossed the Tasman towards Auckland, New Zealand.
That passage was pretty rough. I remember we had the delivery main up, so it's pretty much like a double reefed main we had up the whole time, and we were just motoring, and the breeze was probably 25 or 30 knots straight into us.
It was starting to get cold as well. I remember I was wearing beanies and kind of my wet weather gear all the time, and there was always spray coming over the deck, and it was just kind of this kind of shit passage. And there was also the feeling of coming back into New Zealand, which I was really, really looking forward to. You know, it was kind of the final leg of the trip, and
it felt really cool sailing back into New Zealand, sailing back into a civilization. You know, we were gonna see some of our old friends, and Josje's family lives there. The delivery job was about to end, and we were gonna get paid. So it was a really exciting time.
Just getting into New Zealand.
I remember we passed Cape Reinga, which is like the most northern part of New Zealand, and I just spotted land, and this whole pod of dolphins just came up to the boat and just started like sailing with us, and I just had this like rush of joy and happiness, and I was just really, really looking forward to coming back into New Zealand and kind of seeing where things would take us from there. And so we arrived in Auckland at the end of the New Zealand summer.
We had a really, really good time with the crew on the delivery job, and made really good friends with the captain and his wife. So we kind of made the decision to hang out in Auckland for a bit and just enjoy, I don't know, a city for a while and work. And so we moved in with Hurricane Nina.
She lived in Auckland in a big house, so we moved into a little room and we were paying rent, and all of a sudden we had this little life on land, and it was quite strange.
You look so scared, babe.
It was a weird time. We were kind of in between everything in life.
Day working on some other super yachts there, so we were just, you know, working random odd jobs here and there for a week or two, and then that was it. So there was nothing really long-term or permanent or stable at that point in our lives, so it was a little bit not stressful, but I wouldn't really say the most enjoyable. We were kind of just treading water and not sure when we were going to go back to Delos, not sure when we were going to go back to the States to see Brady's family, and nothing was really certain, but we managed to sort of network out in Auckland and sort of really get a lot of feet in the door on different sort of boats and stuff, and we were able to do some day work and just do some really good networking in the sailing community there.
Finally, it was coming to the end of the season. Like, all the boats that I'd been day working on were leaving and going up into the islands, going up into Fiji and Vanuatu, and Nina had bought a house. So all of a sudden, within about a week, we had no job and no place to live.
And we were kind of like, uh-oh. But we tried to stick with a really positive mindset, and, you know, the right thing will happen at the right time. And I remember we were hanging out with a bunch of friends that we'd made on another boat there, and we were hanging out in their apartment, having loads of fun, and
Oh yeah, get it, nice.
Oh, everybody! I'm not just gonna land on it.
country. We want some plum trees. A sheep, a turtle, a kangaroo, a clothesline out the back, a veranda out the front, and an old rocking chair.
We were pretty hungover the next day on the Sunday, and we got this phone call.
They asked if we were still looking for a position for the next 6 months. And it was a boat heading to Fiji, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and then back to Auckland, all in a 6-month period. So basically we'd just be away from New Zealand for the winter.
And they asked us to come see them that day, and we were like, sweet. Okay, so we went down there and
I can see everything's piecing together.
we met the crew, and they were really, really awesome. I think they were like, I think they are cruisers at heart, you know, working on a super yacht, which was kind of ideal for us, really. We just connected straight away. The next day they offered us the job, and we would be leaving in 2 days. So we were like, oh, how much more perfect could this be?
So fine, oh so mine.
So we were really, really grateful, really excited. We were going to go sail on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boat, the Swan 100.
So within 3 days of just being so lost and not having a place to live, we were on this boat and leaving Auckland again for Fiji, just as it was starting to get cold.
And then before we knew it, we were kind of just about to untie the dock lines, and
I remember the captain from the boat we did the delivery on came over and was like, "Are you guys really leaving today?" We're like, "Yeah, I guess so." And then
it was blowing like 30, 35 knots.
nothing about this boat. The captain had asked us, "Oh, how good are you at helming?" And we're like, "I think that's pretty good, you know." And Delos and everything on the delivery was pretty much autopilot, so we've hand steered before, but not to an extent of like what he thought we had probably, but we said we were good. And he wanted us to hand steer all the time. They hardly ever used autopilot.
It was pretty gnarly out there, and once we left the harbour, we were cruising along at like 12, 13 knots. The captain was like, "Okay, Brady, you're up, come stand at the helm," kind of thing. And so Brady was like, you know, steering this massive, very responsive boat, like surfing down these waves, and I was like, I just felt extremely like nervous.
And coming out of the harbor and hitting the wind and hand steering for the first time, it was a big wake up call, like driving this massive boat thing just flying along.
I'd never really properly hand steered like a huge, very responsive like racing boat before, so I was feeling quite nervous. So when it was my turn to like get up there and, you know, do my watch, I was quite terrible at the beginning. You know, I was like coming up way too high, then I was coming down way too low, and I was kind of going all over the place. It just took me, I don't know, a couple of hours to really get the feel of the boat. But after that, it was sweet.
And I remember there was a point where Josje was driving and she hit like 16.5 knots or something like that, and it was just all over the place steering.
It's a 1,100 mile passage to Fiji, which took us about 4 days.
Definitely had anxiety and was definitely nervous that first day out and that whole trip to Fiji. You know, we had owners coming on board. Like we were hired as crew. I was a deckhand and Josje was a stewardess. It wasn't just a delivery. It was we were somebody else's crew. We were going to be sailing for somebody else.
It had been 5 months since we left Delos in the Philippines, and somehow life had taken us to this point, sailing back into Fiji.
For once, we had a bit of stability in our lives. We knew the plan for the next 5 months and even had a bit of money coming in. We had a job, and our job was all about sailing this beautiful boat around and showing the owners a good time.
Next up, continue the adventure with us as we cruise through Fiji, Vanuatu, and New Caledonia. Along our sail, we visit remote places, live volcanoes, and have a close encounter with bull sharks.
Rockin' and rollin', wanna play my guitar. I just want to sing every night and day. Rockin' and rollin', wanna play my guitar. I just want to sing every night and day. Please, 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 mister, don't tell us to turn down. Please, 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 mister, won't you turn around? Please, 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 mister, get in your car and drive away. 'Cause I wanna play that breakout music every night and day. Oh yeah, every night and day. Oh yeah. If you only knew where I'm coming from, you would get down.
So remember,
Enthusiasm!
enthusiasm. We spent about. Okay.
Just trying to be natural.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes.
Where did it start to go downhill? Yang Wing.
Let's talk about some experiences, huh?
Hung out for a while, ate French pastries, they came out for a week.
Brief, very brief. You just finished my wine here.
The rest of the sail down to Auckland was really... Look at that fucking cargo ship, man.
I'm losing it. Just let it flow naturally.
I don't know how.
You're almost there. You're almost free.
So it was really great. I felt very proud of myself and very proud of Brady, and it was cool. Cheesy! So it was cool being back in Cairns for the third time. That's all I gotta say about that.